Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dylan Silver, and today on the show I have the COO of the Bradford Group, herself based out of Atlanta, Georgia, LaWanna Bradford. LaWanna, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dylan. How's it going?
It's going great. I actually think there might be something in the airwaves today. We rarely have this, but we've had two people on the show from Atlanta, Georgia. I said, man, there must be something in Atlanta out there.
We just want to make our connection in the Texas area.
That's got to be the thing. That's got to be the thing. Well, welcome to the show. I always like to start off at the top, and you're definitely involved in a niche space with lending and investments and in commercial. But how did you get into the real estate space?
That's a very interesting question. So I was an executive for mass transit here in Atlanta, and I just decided, I'm tired and I want to take a break. And so I decided to take a respite from corporate, and my brother was actually the one that had founded the Bradford Group, which at the time was a residential mortgage provider. And I came on board just to help him with compliance issues. He had 13 loan officers at the time. And Dylan, I got bitten by the bug, and I thought, wow, this is an opportunity for me to learn a new industry and see about creating another revenue stream. And we were doing well until, the mortgage crisis hit in 2007, 2008. He was a recent father of twins. And he said, LaWanna, I'm not going to be able to stay here. So he bailed. I stayed. The rest is history. We're celebrating 19 years, but this time on the commercial front.
So a lot to unpack there, but the Bradfords stayed winning in the Bradford Group. One Bradford went and another Bradford. You got subbed in. You got subbed in. Yes. I think, what's interesting about, you mentioned, mortgage crisis, 2008 timeframe. That was really a time frame where a lot of people who were really doing really, really, really well beforehand, because frankly, maybe this is an unpopular thing to say, but they were just giving out mortgages, right? So they were just, you have a pulse, here's a mortgage.
Exactly.
And so there was a lot of people who were making money hand over fist, and then regulations come down, Dodd-Frank comes down. Now it feels like I'm 31 years old. It feels like people that are young people feel like, how do we get a house? We need now a blood sample to get a home. And so things changed, and you saw an opportunity in commercial. So did you know that this was going to be something that you were potentially going to pivot to down the line, and then the financial crisis accelerated that, or were you having to kind of pivot on the fly?
No, we literally pivoted on the fly because we saw, obviously, banks are closing. We saw people to the left and right of us as far as mortgage providers closing. And I'm thinking, how do we survive? What area is not being hit as heavily? And that was the commercial side.
So I want to get particular here and talk about, those relationships that you formed, because I know as someone who just went through real estate school, the investment side of things and the residential, family who's looking for their starter home or moving, relocating, two totally different worlds. And if I'm talking about, ARVs and rehab budgets with a residential real estate agent, they might not know. Is the lending side, is it like two different worlds with commercial and investments and residential as well?
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Exactly. So on the residential side, I'm looking at the viability of that borrower, their ability to pay back the loan. On the commercial side, I'm looking at the property and its ability to service the loan.
So it was a big pivot for you. What were the steps in that like? Were you having to kind of, go out there and make the connections with the lending institutions or with private lenders? Were there private lenders out there? Was there kind of this feeling that there's like blood in the water and a lot of concern, or was it the opposite? There's blood in the water and we need to buy a bunch of property because now's the best time to buy.
A little of both. I think what I wanted to do was find that blue ocean where a lot of people were not swimming. And so the first thing I did was look at my current lending base, which ones had a commercial side of the house, to find out how do we get over there and becoming a licensed broker under the commercial side. Making sure I had the training, because again, it's a totally different world. Yeah. But then finding individuals who had been doing commercial for a while and asking, just coming straight out, introducing myself, saying, this is where I am. I'm trying to stay afloat. Can you mentor, guide me in this space?
And so you took it from there to then scaling out of that. Let's talk about the first deals. What were the first deals like? How'd you find the property? How'd you find the ultimate, I'm not even sure the terminology in this space, the buyer of the deal,
Sure. Well, what I did, I think it helps because in the corporate side, I was a strategist. So I started looking at the environment that we were in and like, where could possible partner relationships exist? And I thought, banks, let's go to your major lenders. And so I'm knocking on the door of, at the time, SunTrust, which was still there, Chase Bank, Bank of America. And I said, do you offer commercial loans? And they said, yes. And I said, well, what's the criteria? And they told me, and I said, well, what do you do for those individuals that don't meet this particular criteria, but still need a lending source? And that's when I found out that they had partner relations. So my first actual partners were with larger banks who couldn't service because of their guidelines, couldn't service their clients. So rather than turning them away, they passed them on to us.
So let's get granular here and talk about the deal. Don't give away all the gold, LaWanna, but maybe give away some of it. So you made these partnerships with the banks, but then you need the properties themselves, right? So are people coming to you and saying, hey, I want to take a look at this? Are you going out when you're effectively bootstrapping? Are you finding these properties yourself? How are you finding the physical properties?
No, the individuals were coming to me. So we've started off with individuals with daycare centers. Why? Because we just noticed there are a lot of daycare centers in Atlanta, and it seemed to be low-hanging fruit. We literally went door to door, making, old-fashioned connections and finding out how could they stay afloat given where the marketplace was. And so looking at what they could do to harvest or refinance their existing property to create sustainability. So that was the first thing we did. We looked at individuals who currently owned commercial real estate. We also went to churches. And in fact, during the pandemic, we went back to churches because we're like, everybody's everybody's shut in. How are you going to survive? How are you going to pay this mortgage over your head? Perhaps we can restructure this debt for you.
So restructuring, refinancing, this was a niche that you dove into. Uh, Getting through 2008, 2009, going through to the latter years, things are starting to come around. What did the business scale to, and what were the deals that you were involved in? Did they grow from there, and were there other verticals that you were looking at?
Sure. We started off, as I said, we did churches, we did daycare centers, 1 to 4 unit. Your fix and flips
Yeah.
were really big for us, and then we started tapping into warehouses, strip malls.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
And we found that, especially on the warehouse side, there is a huge demand. As we mentioned earlier, Dylan, there is a growing, expanding rental market. So
Huge.
many of these individuals who have lost their homes, or perhaps are at a point where they're downsizing, well, where are they going to put all their stuff? Because Americans love their stuff, right?
Storage
So
facilities.
yeah, so storage facilities, we found out, hey, that was a cash cow.
Now, you mentioned a couple different churches. You mentioned daycare centers. You mentioned strip malls, storage facilities. So these are all, they have their own models, right? And so being knowledgeable in all of these is challenging, because it's not like a single family home where you might have a different size, you might have a different
Exactly.
location, but the cash flow model of a daycare center is drastically different. The liability of a daycare center is drastically different than a storage facility. I mean, as you're probably
Yes.
aware, the storage facilities, sometimes people just leave their items in the storage facilities and then they get auctioned off. You're not leaving your items at the daycare center because the item is the kid, right? So
Exactly.
it's a totally different area. As you were moving into these different areas, what was the process like of getting schooled up in it? Is it a lot of learning on the fly? Is it you're having mentorship in these areas, or are you kind of doing some legwork ahead of time in preparation for coming across these deals?
It's both. It's definitely having mentorship after you decide which lanes you want to operate in. Some individuals who are coming into the commercial space, they find out, wow, this is really, really big and diverse, and they're trying to do everything. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to do everything. I wanted to, again, start off small. So again, those 1 to 4 units, then the daycare centers, then the churches. And a plate offering is very different than what you're collecting from a daycare center as far as state subsidized
Yeah.
care. So there's a lot of information there. And then we started getting into commercial development, but we capped it at 20 million and below. Because I'm like, the other stuff is just way complicated. And so we found where our sweet spot was.
So commercial development, when I'm thinking about commercial development, a lot of things come into play. I've heard, medical, but not necessarily hospitals. But I've also seen, you could do residential, commercial on a smaller scale. What was the businesses that were taking out these loans in the commercial space?
They were apartment complex and subdivisions.
And so I've talked with lots of people who are developers who build these types of deals, and there's a lot of risk and a lot of leverage on both sides, right? So you have to get, if it's apartments, you have to get everything rented out. If it's subdivisions, you have to get everything sold. And so, as I've seen being a realtor, they're selling these before they get built, and then when everything's built, they gotta sell them. As a lender and as a broker in this space, when you're looking at these deals, you're looking at the deal itself. what are the things that you're looking out for to say, hey, this is a good deal, or hey, I really can't, be involved with
Sure.
this?
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Well, the first thing is the individual or business's experience in that area. So if you say, okay, I'm developing a subdivision. Okay, well, how many have you developed before? How many deals like this have you done in the last 2 to 3 years? And what was your exit strategy? So again, looking at experience, looking at exit strategy, looking at who's going to be on the team, how much reserve do you have, the what if scenario, if something happens and your supply chain has hiccups, how are you going to ensure that you can not only take care of this commercial loan, but then convert into permanent long-term financing, if that's what you're seeking? So
Yeah.
it's really understanding the story behind the individuals or business that is asking for the funds, but then how do they plan on using it? And ultimately, what's your exit strategy?
I do want to pivot a bit here, LaWanna, and ask you about folks who are maybe interested. We talked about uh, ladies getting into commercial investing and lending. And I mentioned I was one of the only guys in my real estate school. And I said, wow, I'm one of the only guys here. And then I've seen kind of demographic shift when I go into other areas. But for someone that's maybe starting out, what would your general advice be if they're looking at, hey, I want to get into commercial investing. I don't really know how, or I want to get into commercial lending and I'm not sure where to start.
Well, the first thing I would tell them is to just take a basic course to understand what it is, just like any type of investment. And is it really where you want to place your money? And the second thing is understand your risk tolerance. There is a risk.
Yeah.
And how much are you willing to lose if it
Yeah.
does go that way? And then what's your rebound strategy? And the third thing is understanding the why behind it. And I know that sounds really crazy because people tend to get more emotionally tied with a piece of property, I don't know why, than they do any other type of investment.
I
They
know.
fall in love with the property. They fall in love with their new development. You got to sever that emotional tie.
That can be hard. And I'll give you an example that I've seen a lot with fix and flippers is they don't have like a set finish. And what I mean by that is a way that the tile looks, the flooring, and they start getting into like being Picasso with this fix and flip. And the issue is fix and flips are hard enough. You take down walls, there's mold, you rip up subfloor, there's foundation issues, people break in, they steal all your stuff. This happens all the time. Like people have to budget for theft on fix and
You
flip
do.
sites. So then you're going into that, and now you're looking at like lighting fixtures, and now we're everyday people. We're scrolling through our feeds, and we're thinking, oh, I want this thing. You do all this, and you put your heart and soul into the flip, and now it's sitting there on market. Now you're looking at, well, how come it hasn't sold in 90 days? And you're getting low offers, and you're looking at the low offers. And then you're like, well, this hard money loan's killing my wallet. Now you're looking at, I need a bridge loan. Maybe I need to change my exit strategy. Maybe this shouldn't be a fix and flip. Maybe this should be an Airbnb. And so I sometimes think, and I've thought a lot about this myself, before you get to that point where you're looking at, well, what are the fixtures that I want to put in this? You really want to have an idea of this is exactly how it's going to look. I'm really not going to, leave anything up to like customization at the last minute. And if I was going to do 5 of these, they're all going to have a similar, I would say, finish, so that maybe you're using the same type of paint or the color of paint. Maybe the countertops are the same, so you can buy it in bulk and get some type of discounts versus, for lack of a better term, like figuring it out at the 11th hour. That's already hard enough.
Right. And I think what you're saying is it's a good point for people to ask themselves, okay, when you are in this, it is a business. So you have to run it like a business. And the first thing is, how much am I willing to invest? What price point do I want to pay? How much am I going to put in it to get it up to the ARV, after repair value?
Yeah.
And then what is the sales price? How much do I want to make? What's my profit point? And if you're putting all this stuff into getting, marble floors and
Yeah.
again, building your own dream house, it's an investment. Again, understanding why you're doing it, who your target market is. Are you trying to fix and flip it and then turn it over to a wholesaler, another investor, or a potential homeowner?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think, the fix and flip space specifically, you mentioned emotional attachment. You're also dealing with emotionally attached sellers. So I oftentimes think, like, for the amount of effort that flippers go through, they could be, and many of them are, scaling this and getting into other areas. They're getting into note buying. They're getting into lending. They're getting into storage facilities, RV parks, because it's a lot of emotions tied with someone who this is their homestead and maybe, falling on hard times or moving, whatever the case may be, death in the family, something like this. And now it's their home, and you might not be able to negotiate a deal where a fix and flip makes sense, but you're so gung-ho that you buy it anyhow. Well, that's how you end up, losing your shirt on a fix and flip. What I've seen recently, and I'm personally excited about this, is land does not have these same hiccups. And I'm in Texas, so we got tons of land. So people do not, for whatever reason, it's not their house, right? They're not as attached to the land. And if the land's sitting there vacant, they're not getting as much use out of it. You can improve the land, make it buildable, maybe sell that to a builder, or put a couple of them together, sell that to a builder. And that just seems, or build on it yourself. I see a lot of people doing new builds right now out here.
Right. No, I agree. And if you do need lending for land, most lenders won't do more than 50%. So that's the other thing, just to, again, think about how much skin in the game do you want to have? And the biggest difference from a monetization standpoint is lenders want to see that commercial buyer with some skin.
For sure. LaWanna, we are coming up on time here. Where can folks go maybe to reach out to you, learn more about the Bradford Group, or just get in touch with you?
They can find me on all things social media by my name, LaWanna Bradford, or they can go to our mortgage site, Bradford Group, mtg.com.
LaWanna, thank you so much for coming on the show here today. Congrats on all your success and to your continued success as well.
Thanks so much, Dylan. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.